Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be going through the books that I read in November. A couple of days late on it, but I've had some camera issues, but I'm on a brand new camera set up now, so I'm just getting to grips with that, so it should be a lot more high definition than my other ones, than my last video, sorry. So last month I got through a total of 5 books, and I'm just going to go through them now in no particular order. The first one was The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. I totally misjudged this book. I thought it was going to be your typical chick lit, but it actually ended up being a mystery type book, a murder mystery really, and it was a very fast-paced book. I started reading it and I was quickly hooked on it, and it became a massive page turner. It's all set in Sydney, Australia, and it follows 3 women in Sydney who are linked together by one event 20 something years ago, and that is the murder of a young girl called Janie. She was strangled and left in a park, and no one knows who did it. And there's a lot of speculation on who did it, and one of the main characters in this is Janie's mother, who can't let go of Janie's murder, and she thinks that she's let her son down because she hasn't spent a lot of time looking after her son or paying much attention to him after the murder of Janie. So it sort of goes into their life a little bit, and the way that the women are linked, they actually don't really realise that they're linked, apart from the fact that they all know each other because they're all from the same area. So the first couple of chapters are a little bit confusing because you're meeting all of these new characters. I love this so much that I was really quite upset when the book ended. It was one of those that you just want to keep going on and on and on forever. Star-wise, I'd give this a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to read it again in the future. So that was The Husband's Secret. Next up is this tattered version of Everything About Me Is Fake and Unperfect by Janice Dickinson. I picked this up because she was in the Big Brother in the UK, and although she seemed quite a difficult character to get along with, and I just was interested in knowing a little bit more about her. What I will say is this won't be everyone's cup of tea. The book seemed very true to the personality that came across on the Big Brother that she was in, sort of extremely self-obsessed, extremely proud of herself and extremely pleased with herself with everything that she's done. But it works, it just works with Janice Dickinson. For some reason it's entertaining rather than irritating, in my opinion. The name dropping in here is obscene. She just constantly drops names of everybody that she's ever met, dated, had anything to do with really, and I found the book to be crass, very, very crass, but I found it to be extremely entertaining, and I found Janice Dickinson to be somewhat more likeable after reading this. Although she's extremely narcissistic, she's also extremely brilliant, and it comes across really well in a book. So I paid a penny for it, but as soon as I'd read this, I went online and I picked up her other 2 books as well. One of the things that I loved about this was the raw honesty in it. She will just be completely honest about anything that she thinks. She just doesn't seem to have that filter that a lot of people, and especially celebrities, have to stop them from saying things that other people won't really like. So the fact that that filter wasn't in this and she literally just let rip, I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, that's a good 4 out of 5. Next up was The Good Girl by Fiona Neal. This had a little bit of hype around it from what I'd seen online. People seemed quite excited about this book. A family have moved from London and they've moved to Norfolk, and there's an air of mystery as to why they've gone. I didn't enjoy this book. For me, it didn't actually go anywhere. It just seemed to be a random series of events that was messing up everybody's life. So there was nothing that was really massively delved into, in my opinion. And the only time I was actually gripped by the book were the last 50 pages or so. I didn't find that I was able to connect with any of the characters. There was none of them that I found particularly likeable. There was just nothing about this book that really spoke to me or drew me in at all. So yeah, it was a little bit of a letdown, and not one I would reread again. I would probably give it about a 2 out of 5 altogether for that one. Next up we've got Conquering Chaos by Caitlin Lowell and Tyler Baltiera. I'm not sure if I've pronounced those names correctly, but this is a book from two of the cast of the original MTV Teen Mom. If you're not familiar with Teen Mom, it started years ago with looking at teenagers that were 16 and pregnant, and the cameras followed them around and found out how it affected their lives. And then there was a spin-off series that was called Teen Mom, and it followed their lives as they became parents, and how everything changed for them and whether they stayed together or what they did in their lives. And but whereas the other teen moms were going through the trials of having a new baby and things like that, Caitlin and Tyler were actually placed their daughter Carly for adoption for a large amount of reasons. It was actually a really inspiring story to see two 16-year-olds that were so switched on in their choices, and what drove them to make that huge decision to place Carly for adoption. When watching Teen Mom on TV and seeing how this has affected them, obviously it's been a huge emotional impact, and they went through quite a bit together afterwards. We got to see a lot of their struggles with developing a relationship with Carly's adoptive parents, and now they're both advocates for adoption, and they do talk a lot at various seminars and things like that about adoption. So I picked up their book hoping that it would maybe sort of delve into the emotional side of it, into how their decision affected them day to day, and talk maybe about how they're keeping up the relationship with the adoptive parent. But it turned out to be a little bit different to that. It was actually more of a life guidebook really. There was relationship advice and advice to parents on dealing with teenagers who may be sexually active, and so it was a little bit less of a look into their life, as more of a book of their opinions, and I would assume an extension of the talks that they do around America. I will say, had I not watched them on Teen Mom, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed this book, but the fact that I watched them on Teen Mom, and I've watched them for years, I was still quite interested in reading it. I mean, I have books from the other teen moms who've released books of their story, and it has gone more into their life and more into how they felt about things and what happens once the cameras stop rolling. Whereas Tyler and Caitlin did delve a little bit into their past and to what they had done previously to the cameras starting to film them in the first series. It didn't actually expand on that, I found. So although I did still enjoy the book, if you haven't been a fan of the Teen Mom series, perhaps this is the one that you would give a miss. For the fact that I am actually a fan of the series, I would probably give it a 3 out of 5 stars. But had I not been a fan of Teen Mom, it would probably only be a 1.5 out of 5. The final book that I read this month was Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews for this book, and I think the mixed bag of opinions comes from the fact that it touches upon a really taboo subject, which is date rape essentially. It follows the story of 18-year-old Emma, and one of the main criticisms of this book people have had is that Emma, the main character, is extremely unlikable. I personally didn't find it unlikable. What I found was that she was a self-obsessed teenage girl. You do get a lot of girls like that, and they do grow up and mellow out a bit as they get older, and they realise that the world doesn't actually revolve around them. So I didn't actually find Emma to be unlikable. I found her to be a typical teenage girl. So Emma goes to a party and she gets really drunk, and the next day she finds pictures all over Facebook of what happened to her the night before. I will say that this is a really hard read. Some of the stuff in it was very difficult to wrap your head around, and I've read a lot of books covering the same sort of subject as this, but I found that there was something about the way this was written and something about how graphic this was that made it a very shocking read. But also I think it's a very important read for anybody in our culture really, because these sort of things do happen, and the sooner everybody stops turning a blind eye to it, and the sooner that it stops being so taboo, and the sooner that people can actually talk about it, it might start eradicating this from happening. It's really dangerous now with social media being as it is, and with people being able to share things at the push of a button, how quickly that someone's life could be absolutely ruined after one night. So basically Emma, if you haven't gathered already, Emma is date raped after a night at a party, and the pictures circulate Facebook pretty quickly the next day. Everybody turns on Emma, and Emma is suddenly left to deal with this horrific thing that's happened to her, whilst everybody seems to be blaming her for it. So like I said, this was a very difficult read to get through. It wasn't uplifting, didn't leave you with happy feelings at the end of it or anything like that. It just left you feeling shocked and horrified really that these sort of things do happen. But I found that because Emma was such a typical teenage girl, it gave you a lot more of a true look at victims of date rape. It can happen to real girls, and yeah, Emma might not be particularly likeable. Emma might not be a particularly heartwarming, friendly teenage girl that you would want to be friends with. Emma's probably the type of girl that you wouldn't want to be friends with, but that doesn't mean that she deserves what happens to her. And the book really makes you think. So on that reason alone, I would definitely give it a good 4 out of 5 stars. As I say, it's not enjoyable, but it's definitely one to be read. So that's the books that I read last month and the little mini review. So I hope you liked this, and if you did, give me a thumbs up, and you could also follow me if you like. Thanks, bye!